Welcome to Digitized Spotlight, your lens into the best builders in consumer crypto. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Winnie. On this series, we'll explore some of the latest trends emerging in consumer crypto and chat with those building at the forefront. In this episode today, we delve into Digi-Physicals, physical products that maintain a digital record on chain.
To dive into this emerging space, we chat with Chris and Ryan, the founders of IYK, a platform enabling brands and creators from Adidas to Atlantic Records to create Digi-Physical experiences. By adding an IYK-powered NFC chip to physical products, creators can reward their customers and fans and stay connected with their community.
I actually recently just got this jean jacket from a brand called Mintage, and it has this IYK patch and NFC chip sewn into that. So when I scan this NFC chip, I can claim my NFT. And I honestly, while doing that, felt some elements of magic as I really saw the ability to really own both the digital and physical item was like so cool. So when others scan my jean jacket, they also see a digital collectible and can even sign my NFT. In the future, I imagine my jean jacket can kind of check into events, collect co-ops, and be tied to unique music and essentially have a life of its own. So I'm personally very looking forward to learning more from Chris and Ryan about their vision for IYK. Hey guys.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Hi, Ryan. It's great to have you on this episode of Digitized Spotlight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and speak with y'all.
Awesome. So to start off, can you each introduce yourself and what you're building at IYK?
Chris, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Chris, co-founder of IYK. Prior to starting IYK, I was a software engineer at Major League Baseball for about 6 years. I actually started my career in finance, but quickly realized that wasn't the path for me. So kind of left and taught myself how to code.
Cool. I'm Ryan, another co-founder of IYK, the other co-founder of IYK. I'm also coming from a software engineering background. I started off, working on actually TypeScript smart contracts for this platform called Hyperledger, and then moved on to do some more random freelance and consulting work, and then ended up going to a bunch of ETH Global hackathons, which is when I dived into Web3 full time. And so I spent most of 2021 building NFT drops and sniping tools and things like that before I met Chris and we started jamming on IYK together.
Love that.
IYK, is the creator platform and tool for building Web3 enabled NFC experiences. And so we power a lot of these Digi-Physical experiences you see from brands like 90cc, for example, or Verite, who use us to create engaging and long-lasting consumer experiences.
Cool. Yeah, you mentioned Verite. Tell us a little bit more about that. I think she was the first creator you worked with. How did that partnership come about? What led them to kind of use IYK?
Yeah, so I was connected with Verite through a mutual friend. This was like April 2021, which we all know was like a crazy time. I was exploring ideas to build, and she was already experimenting with NFTs. I think at that point she had dropped on Catalog and Zora. So, I think when we narrowed on the pullable NFT concept, she was actually the first person we showed a demo of this hoodie we had made. And I feel like, she was pretty convinced at that point. And so, we just jammed on a bunch of different concepts around merch and eventually guestbook. If Ryan, you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so guestbook was the first thing, and it's not exactly what we showed her with the hoodie, but it was like the first concept that utilized like this proof of proximity thing where you could tap on a chip, we could validate that scan, figure out which chip you tapped, and then relay that permission to get you an NFT or something else. And in her case, at every one of her shows, we had this like 0.1 IYK disc, and you would scan it with your phone, and you as a fan would be able to leave her a message and then optionally opt into getting airdropped an NFT from that show. And so you get to leave your favorite artist a message, get this collectible that signifies you were there. And what was really cool about that NFT was she handed out these disposable cameras at every show to the fans. They would like take a bunch of pictures of her, of each other, and then she would then compile those photos into the final NFT. And so
Oh,
you're kind of co-creating the NFT with her by
yeah.
taking photos and then handing the camera back at the end.
Yeah,
That
I
was
think you're
nice.
almost getting to see the magic of IYK kind of form and kind of your later iterations of the product with kind of what you just mentioned, with what you guys did for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were definitely figuring it out as we went, where the original idea was this pullable NFT, which if we take a step back, at the time we were just into NFTs, right? And we were participating in different drops. We were building different bots to try to like be able to snipe certain drops. And it was cool for us when we started to see traditional brands show up. And we remember this very specific instance where Dolce & Gabbana was dropping a pair of like $800 sneakers, and they said it came with an NFT. So that was like validation for us that what we were doing wasn't completely crazy. Like Dolce & Gabbana, this traditional brand, is here. And then B, it was like, what is this thing? Like, let's go check it out. We did some research, and the way that they gave you the NFT was through a code on your receipt, which you would then take to a separate form to claim the NFT. And we were pretty disappointed with that implementation because like the token is completely independent from the physical, where you could sell it on OpenSea, keep the physical, or vice versa. So yeah, it was actually Ryan's idea on like, what if we had, a chip embedded in the item and that actually controlled the transferability of the token. And so once I heard that, yeah, exactly. You have that in your mint
Ta-da.
jacket.
Yeah, this is the vintage IYK jacket I wore for you guys today.
Yeah, we appreciate that. That's a classic right there. So that was like the concept, right? Where that design allowed an NFT to be a proxy for physical possession, which we thought would open up a lot of opportunities on like the loyalty and reward side for physical brands. But as we started like thinking through more ideas, like with Guestbook and Verite, we realized there's actually a lower level primitive, which is anytime you interact with these chips, we can prove that you have proximity, right? And so instead of just tapping to claim possession of a shirt, you can tap to mint that you're at a concert, or you can tap to mint you're at a retail store on Fifth Avenue, or you can tap to mint that you reached the summit at Machu Picchu, right? And so that's when we started doing more activations to like kind of test what was possible. And there was just like this crazy period of piloting as many things as we could to learn about what the limits were with this Digi-Physical kind of world.
Yeah, and what did you find? So I know now you've worked with over 100 creators across art, fashion, entertainment. And so yeah, what are the main use cases that you've been seeing pop up and are in high demand?
Yeah. So this is kind of both a blessing and a curse of like the Digi-Physical space being so wide, right? And so when we look at kind of this sea of ideas, one place where everyone starts is, oh, authenticity, authenticity, authenticity. Because you want to do all these crazy things, but you want all of those experiences and rewards and programs to all stem off of like genuine products, right? And so I think like the common thing tying everyone together is authenticity. Bang, tap this. Oh, wow, 90cc.eth issued it. Yeah, that's what I expect. And then like being able to view all the product information, the provenance, like no problem. Like I think that's where everyone starts. And then from there, that's when you move into things like social content. Like if we're, talking about Verite, it's pretty lucky. I got her crew neck here. And then this is actually the first merch drop we did with her, where the chip actually got you exclusive access to, at the beginning, it was her first single, then it was demo tapes, and then like unreleased songs, tour rehearsal, blah, blah, blah. But like just a bunch of stuff. And you could also sign up for like exclusive SMS updates. And so she's really using it as like an exclusive channel where if you're a super fan and you buy my merch, like here's this elevated level of access that you can get to me.
How
And
does it
that's
get
super, super
pushed for
cool.
something like that? Like, say she pushes something to her her like digital holders. How does that actually get pushed to the user?
Originally, it was by emailing us, and we would help, send the content out. But
Yeah.
that's part of our platform, which we announced like I think a month ago, where it's a self-serve portal where you can order chips, mint the
Oh,
chips, and
cool.
also manage what we're calling campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, beams, which is our branded term for content, are one of the modules that you can run campaigns for. So you can just upload content. You might schedule it for your digitized merch owners, where like this episode will go out Thursday from like 3 to 7, and your merch owners get early access before it's dropped on like Apple or Spotify or something like that.
Very cool. And like, how else are specific brands like Mintage, for example, with this, how are they and other creators and brands leveraging IYK for like, say, creating songs and check-ins and referrals? 'Cause I imagine like my jacket can have a life of its own, can like check into certain concerts, meet people, have it, people sign it. If I meet like Vitalik and he gets signed my jacket, I'm wearing it. How do you guys envision this future for how brands are thinking about what has resonated most with these brands?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Mintage is like kind of leading the pack here in terms of having the item tell its own story, right? And so we launched the Fuse module with them. And so if you buy any one of the Mintage patches, they've done like a patchwork drop on OpenSea, the Keith Haring patch, and so on. You can actually digitally fuse that patch right with the jacket. And so after you embroider it on, you tap the patch,
That's
authenticate
so
it, and
cool.
fuse it in, right? And like you can see this on OpenSea. And I don't know if we're gonna do like a screen share on this podcast, but I can send the link of like one of the Mintage Club 11 jackets, and you can see on OpenSea there's like 11 patches fused to the jacket, right? And so same thing with autographs. It's like all of these are part of that item's story. And the more that we can be open in like not only just recording that data, but also displaying it in places where people can see it, like gallery.so, for example, shows them, OpenSea shows them, like the kind of the more complete of a story we can tell about these items.
I think another big component here is like being a tool for brands to kind of grow their audience, which in the case of a fashion company, it's like, who are your core consumers, right? And so by chipping these items, Mintage can start creating these incentives where if you have that jacket and you also show up to their Art Basel event,
Yeah.
that maybe you unlock like an exclusive SKU or colorway or a patch, like Ryan said, right? And so now, as a brand that operates in the real world, you can start tying together like attendance at events to like what's actually in your closet and gamify the whole experience. And also kind of do it in a way that doesn't feel so cheap to the consumer, where it feels like as a consumer, as you engage more, you're just unlocking more experiences and it feels really natural.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is like brands now are becoming more than just like one dimensional. Like even though Mintage may be like a fashion brand, it's just as much art as culture as music, right? So I think it's like having brands being able to develop different almost like personalities and kind of go in other areas through this is super interesting.
Yep, definitely.
Definitely. And building on this self-serve platform that you recently launched, like, can you talk through how you thought about the design of it, how you shifted from working individually with creators to something that creators can use themselves with no technical knowledge?
Yeah. I think this journey largely, so just to provide a little bit of context, for the first like year and a half, 2 years of the company, we were very agency style, right? Like someone would email us and then we'd be like, oh wow, that's a great idea, build, and then like launch, right? And then like it was kind of slow in the sense that like every single new person needed to come through our inbox. We would help them with something, and then like it was kind of nice because we were not only learning about like the different ways people wanted to use this thing, but also like launching all of these like novel experiences at the same time. And what we realized was there's a lot of common ground between all of these drops that we could really kind of systematize. And we don't want, at the time, like we don't want deploying Digi-Physical stuff to feel like, oh, I gotta be like a Margiela or I gotta be like an Adidas to even be able to like access this. Even if you're like an independent musician, comic book artist, whatever, like we want you to feel empowered to deploy these experiences. And so a core part of IYK platform is no matter kind of what technical experience level you have, there should be options for you to really like get what you want. And so it starts by us providing like experiences you can deploy with no code, but also, hey, there's these campaigns now that you can schedule and configure. And then like, hey, if you need more than that, like here's now the set of APIs you can use to kind of customize your interface, right? And really just like gradually, depending on kind of your experience level, walking you through kind of the different steps you can use to kind of build your own experience. So yeah, we just want to make this as accessible as possible, and we don't get there by just kind of doing the agency thing. And so the more we can kind of solidify this foundation, the more out of the box resources we can provide, the more accessible Digi-Physical gets. And that's ultimately our high level goal.
Yeah, no, I love that. And then I guess from what you've seen so far, I know you mentioned targeting smaller creators instead of the large brands with the self-serve platform. Which sectors or types of creators have you seen most interested in using it so far?
Yeah, so this was kind of another thing we didn't really expect when we created IYK was how widely applicable this concept is. And so originally we thought a lot about the fashion use case. And then we kind of discovered the music use case. And then like physical artists started reaching out because there's issues of authenticity, right? And then we even heard from like furniture companies and like automobile companies and then like events companies. So at this point, it does feel like there is something for you no matter what industry you're in. And that's also kind of why we're designing the platform to be as flexible as it is today, where we know where our specialty is. It's like more infrastructure layer. We can help guarantee these digital experiences are originating from like genuine physical interactions, and then giving you all the tools you need if you want to customize it for your domain or your industry to do that. So another big category is like generative art, which we're really excited about. So it's been cool to see like these categories like pop up too.
Do you have like specific modules or like a different types of things built for any of these categories? As you know, they're all very different, right? Like how a fashion brand would use it, I imagine is different how a musician would use it. Do you think about kind of what other feature sets that each of these sector specific creators would want?
Definitely. I think right now there's like I mean, this count always updates. So there's like maybe like 10 modules that if you contact us, like we can help set up on your products. And co-op module, themes module, autograph module, fuse module, bang, 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 bang. And then like it's mostly like not even just one of these, right? It's like you compose multiple together. And the more we learn, like we're definitely adding to this roster. But what's becoming kind of increasingly clear to us is like we can't always be the ones building every module. And so providing that API and interface for you to build your own is super important. Like that's where like the 90cc experiences come from, right? Like the weekly internet game, like that's powered by the API. So
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
As the ecosystem grows, like you have more third-party developers and other people building on top of that.
And I think the reason behind this module framework was to give us flexibility. Because, for example, to your point, like a luxury brand is not going to want to use a discount code module, right? So it's the same concept. Like you tap a genuine product to reveal like a code, but maybe we have a different module and it's like an access code module where
RSVP.
Yeah, like it's kind of a branding thing where we can maybe publish hundreds of modules. A lot of them might use the same concepts, but it is more geared towards an industry. And the module like description gives us the opportunity to kind of like frame it more for whatever the industry is. So it definitely is a challenge though for us where in some like BD calls, being clear about like what the use cases are. Sometimes we might go a little too crazy on like all these like 10 different ideas. So it's like something we're actively trying to manage.
Cool. And I guess blockchain is obviously a very core component of this. Can you talk through some of like interesting novel ways you guys are using new crypto primitives? I know you guys are kind of working with the token bound protocol and utilizing ERC 6551. But yeah, maybe talk us through any other interesting primitives you guys are leveraging, because a lot of these items are both on chain and they have in real life.
Yeah. So the nice part about blockchain is, and the reason we started using it originally too, was all the interoperability, right? We instantly integrate with token proof, all of these other like Web3 service providers. And that's all because we speak this common language of an NFT. And ERC 6551 is brilliant because like it's just NFTs holding other assets, which in our case is like also mostly NFTs, right? And so we're all just like speaking the same language, where we use ERC 6551 to continue adding more like verifiable context to like a physical product itself. One thing that we're extremely interested in is like ZK tech, and largely around the idea of being able to like prove certain things about like your physical interactions and ownership, but without revealing kind of the full details. And so what I would ideally like to be able to say is knock, 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 like, hey, Nike, like I own like these three shoes, or like not these three shoes, but I own like 3 pairs of shoes and have visited like a store in the last 6 months. But I don't necessarily want to reveal to you like which 3 shoes, when I got them, or like when I visited like whichever store I visited, right? Like all you need to know is I need to meet that bar for the reward or the program or the loyalty, but not necessarily have all of my information like out in the public. So that's really interesting. And I think especially as IYK begins to capture more and more of your like IRL self, I doubt most people will want to have all of that like in their wallet. So just trying to get more creative, but also just like, yeah, sensible about the privacy side of it with ZK is very, very interesting.
Very cool. The privacy side of things in terms of cookies and loyalty and rewards is something I'm also following closely. So to change topics, I last participated in one of your activations at Art Blocks Weekend. There, IYK was the infrastructure behind Marfa Mesh, which was in the generative art space, capturing connections between event attendees. I'm curious what novel social experiences you think Digi-Physicals will enable.
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting, like the idea of minting an IRL connection, right? Where it's like we're at a conference, we meet, and that's represented via this NFT that we hold. And the just sidebar, really cool thing about Marfa Mesh was how an artist was able to take our tooling and kind of make it feel so much cooler, as artists do. So like huge shout out to Harvey Rayner and Shane for doing that. But coming back, yeah, so it's like it's a simple concept, but there's a new primitive there of this NFT means like I met Amanda in Marfa, Texas. And so I think the novel aspect of this is what do we do with that information? Where now in some other app, we're like automatically connected, or like I get a recommendation for next year's Marfa, like reach out to Amanda or whatever it is, right? Where the really cool thing is through IYK, this NFT is just not an ordinary NFT. It has more semantic meaning. And in this case, the meaning is that we actually connected IRL. And so what we're hoping to see is more people build experiences on top of these NFTs, which just extends the utility of minting in person.
I think one thing that is like, it might not always be about the NFT either, where like these on tap experiences, I think is something that like more and more people should be diving into, where, I think one cool, I don't remember if this is your idea or my idea, Chris, but like this idea of having like a chat app where let's say you can only have like 25 contacts. And so you meet people in person, they get like boom, 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 boom added to your contacts. But if you don't like meet them again in like 6 months, they get like bumped off the list and replaced by the next person you
The
meet.
new
And so it's just like,
MySpace top
Yeah.
yeah,
five. But like there's proof of, I guess, what do you guys call it? Proof of proximity.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But the idea was for your contacts to self-prune. So like if
yeah,
imagine, so we're
Yeah.
on Telegram probably, and we have like tons of messages, right? But imagine if you hadn't met people in the recent like last 3 months, that it automatically deleted itself. Right. And so now there's more incentive, like, hey, if I want to stay connected to Winnie, I gotta grab coffee with her and like tap her shirt.
yeah. I mean, the idea of like incentivizing like communities to get together IRL is just like so important. I think like one place where like I personally experienced this is like watching esports, right? Like in person. Like esports is still like not really cool. And to be fair, like if I told like most of my friends that don't play video games, like, oh, you want to come watch this like Apex Legends tournament with me? They'd be like, what the hell, man? Like this is craziness. And the thing is like it's just so online, it's just like hard to see these people. And so like incentivizing like these like communities to just get together in person, make friends, and like rise within like just like that community just by getting together in person, I think is a cool concept that more folks need to explore. Like I think 90cc is doing a good job with network points, trying to get people together, trying to get people tapping each other, building those connections. And so is ENS with their cards. But I just think there's so much more to do here in like designing those systems where you start building like, yeah, like friend groups and like real connections within a community.
I love it. I almost see a world where like IYK kind of brings together like your social graph, your physical possessions, places you've been, and people you meet online. I guess one of my last question is kind of like, how do you view the future of like online identity in this world, right? 5 years later, everyone has IYK chipped items. They are meeting people and they're minting things. I don't know. How do you see that evolving?
Yeah, I think this is another way we kind of view what we're doing, where we're all living more and more online, right? Like I'm a millennial. A lot of millennials' identity is like their IG profile, right? And so one way to think about what we're doing is we can help bring like real world experiences into your digital identity, where if you collected these NFTs, it means you were at this basketball game, you were at this show, you have these items that like just enhances your digital identity. And so that's something we think about a lot. And I think that's cool, right? Because ultimately we do lead these like hybrid lives.
Yeah. I do think like one thing that will be nice is like having things more like aggregated where it's like, oh, I have my like DGen meme coin bets over here right next to like the clothes that I own, right next to like my ENS name, all of these different other things about me. And maybe there's like some quest where, oh, I got together with three friends in some game and we did the scavenger hunt and like everything's being collected into what is essentially like your wallet address, where that becomes like the centralizing point of your digital identity. And IYK's role is to bring these IRL elements into that same world where as long as you're able to speak the language of a wallet, speak the language of an NFT, speak the language of tokens, then no matter what kind of service you're building, what kind of social network you're building, what kind of viewer you're building, whether it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you can pull from everyone's digital identity in the same way.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hopefully see a future where that comes to light. So this has been great. Want to do a couple of rapid fire questions to close this out. First one, most exciting Digi-Physical use case.
Generative goods.
Oh man, that was gonna be mine. I think it's social. I think it's social.
Yeah, those are both good ones. Brand or creator you'd like to work with.
The Lakers. I grew up in LA.
That
Yeah,
would be
probably like 100 Thieves esports.
And last one, experience or possession you'd like to see tokenized.
Just more clothing. We need more apparel chipped.
You know what would be nice? All right. So like I have a whole shitload of these like Rubik's cubes. And like one thing that would be nice is like you take them to like different competitions. And the thing is like it's kind of like a vibe thing where you might have like a main cube, you might have like a couple different ones, but like having those like which competition you use this cube for, where like which cube has your personal best, like all of these like written into the cube somehow. Just like
Very
being
cool.
more, having more items that tell the story of themselves. And like,
Or like tennis, like
yeah,
rackets or something like that, or golf
Yeah.
clubs, like, yeah. And then like having your points stored there would be cool.
Yep.
yeah.
That was one of the ideas we had for chipping jerseys was like the stats from your game should live with the jersey.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Chris and Ryan, it's great to have you on Digitized Spotlight. Where can guests and listeners tune in to find and learn more about IYK?
Twitter, IYK_app, website, IYK.app. And then my Twitter is Ryan Ouyang _.
Yeah. And my Twitter is Creefs, CR3ESFS.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right. Bye-bye. See you
All right.
guys.
Thanks for listening in. Hope you enjoyed our conversation with Chris and Ryan. They're definitely trendsetters in the Digi-Physical space. It's exciting to see so many brands and creators using IYK to develop novel consumer experiences.
Agreed. It's awesome to see crypto really powering real need for creators and brands by bridging the gap between their digital and in real life audiences. Follow along as we chat with more founders building at the intersection of consumer and crypto. Bye.
Bye.